I'm kind of in a creative rut right now, so in order to get out of that, I'm gonna do something that like originally I wasn't gonna do, and because it's kind of it's beating a dead horse. But yeah, I'm gonna complain about Pokemon Legends CA. Yeah, yeah, I know, but I'm gonna like talk about something like something original a little bit, right? Because like there's a whole bunch of things I could complain about, but like really it's it's the entire Pokemon franchise, right? Because I've been like a Pokemon fan my whole life, and like there's just in general like I don't like where it's going. Like it's not just like people complain about the glitches and the graphics, and like I don't really care about graphics that much. Like of course like this development cycle they're doing is of course terrible. So that's all the obvious stuff. It's much more than that. It's like just the direction of the series, right? Like I don't like what like the Pokemon anime after the fifth generation. Like that was already like going downhill super fast. Like the movies were just terrible. Like especially those like kind of reboot ones. But also I don't really like. I'm kind of disagreeing with the fan base in general, specifically when it comes to the turn-based combats aspect of Pokemon. That's what I want to talk about a lot about the game design. Right? Let's get really into the game design, right? Because I actually haven't played Sword and Shield. I haven't played any of the Switch Pokemon games. I've seen what's going on with them, but like I just don't like the direction like they're all going with that. Like you got the whole like Breath of the Wild style open world, like climbing up mountains and then gliding off of that. Like but I'm also not liking the whole like real time combat system thing. And so well, let's talk about streamlining, right? Because well, what is the point of streamlining? Well, the idea is that in a game you've got like the main fun stuff, and then you got the stuff that's kind of needs to be part there, but that's not really that fun. And then you can streamline that. So like well in Pokemon breeding, that's something that's been streamlined more and more because like is it really fun to like ride on a bike back and forth? Well, no. Is EV training really that fun? Not really. Like grinding, like the like you got this whole experience share thing where all your Pokemon can experience. That's kind of like, that's one of those things where actually it's one of the kind of bad streamlining I see, and the reason for that is right because like when you're streamlining something, the part that you shouldn't streamline is the point of the game, like the fun part, right? You shouldn't streamline the core mechanic of the game. So then, what is the core mechanic of Pokemon? And the only answer that I'd accept on this is the turn-based combat. That's the core mechanic, the combat. You might say, oh, catching Pokemon, and no, like that's the thing that stands out about it, right? Like, but that's not what you do most of the time. Like in Fortnite is building, like stuff like the core mechanic. Like shooting. That's what you do most of the time. Like that's the whole building thing. That's kind of what makes it different from other battle royales. It's all combat. And even then, like catching Pokemon requires being in combat and engaging Pokemon in combat. You have to like lower their HP. And even when you're like exploring the world, that's also just for the combat, right? It's kind of like it's about pacing, sure, but you're trying to find Pokemon who live in specific areas and then catch them so you can use them in combat. You're getting TMs, you're getting other items, you're getting money. There's trainers all over the world, and you either like try to kind of avoid them so you can battle them later or something, or you're seeking them out. It's all about getting to it's all preparation. And that's the thing, right? Preparation you can streamline so that they can get to the combat quicker. And so yeah, you got like games like Pokemon Stadium and Battle Revolution, who are like it's all battles, right? And that's like that's like too much. It gets monotonous because like the preparation you just do on like your Game Boy or your DS, and then you send them over, right? And it's not the pacing is off, right? But then something like Pokemon Colosseum or XD, those are like my favorite games, because like you they're actually very streamlined in a way because there's no HMs, like there's no wild battles where you're constantly fighting Zubat. You're going very quickly from trainer battle to trainer battle, and it's a double battle, so you have to pay attention to like type effectiveness more. It's a bit like more team play going on, So like it's something with Mount Battle, you're just your Pokemon are even being healed in between battles, and you just like walk a little bit and then do another battle. Like so if you like the turn-based combat, which it's the core mechanic, that makes a lot of sense, right? Here's what Pokemon Legends CA does, right? It streamlines the combat and the Pokemon catching, both of them, where you're not even doing it that much anymore. Now all you're doing really is like running around the city collecting stuff. It's streamlined the wrong part. It's really strange, right? Because like I'm playing Pokemon Legends ZA, right? And I'm like it's basically just even more of a Skinner box. It's like hyper, like just making numbers go up really. Because I'm like playing this game and I'm finding myself just like running around the city picking up stuff. And what are you picking up? Well, there's like Pokeballs everywhere with items in them, and you like these are like one at a time. Like once you pick them up, they never come back. But like you never really know what you're getting. Sometimes it's a paralyzed heal, and you're like, well, what do I need for this? Nothing. But sometimes it may be like an important item, like I don't know, maybe like a life orb, or well, the gold ones are DMs. Those are the best ones, right? And other than that, there's also like these golden little like berries and like wings, that you're picking up, and these are just constantly respawning, so it's just everywhere, just running around, and you're collecting them. Then on top of that, there's also like these mecha shards everywhere, and these are like your Pokemon even gets experience from getting them. So I was just like destroying all of them, like hoping that they would stay like destroyed maybe, but no, they just come back as well. And like very soon, I actually had like 999 of them because I was kind of like kind of going on my own pace, because like the main story really isn't fun, right? It's kind of like bleh. So it actually took a long time for me to even unlock the ability to spend them. So I just had 999, but I was still destroying more crystals because it is kind of fun to like just destroy them, And it pops up at the bottom of the screen like, oh, you got like 6 of these, like, and you get experience points, and it's like you're just being conditioned to get more of this stuff, So then you got those screws, which are part of platforming, right? I thought like climbing up a mountain and gliding off of it was like weird. Now you're like just climbing up ladders, walking on rooftops. And sometimes it's really even weird to figure out how you get on a certain rooftop. You got this rotom ability, like your phone allows you to do like a double jump in midair. Completely absurd, like you're doing like parkour for these screws, and then you get like, you can trade them in for like bonuses. And it's like, at one point I was really just sitting there going like, am I playing a Pokemon game or am I playing Banjo Kazooie? Because this is just like a 3D platformer collectathon now. That's what I'm doing. I'm really not doing like a combat really at all. And it's even like hard to do. Like it's so strange, right? And then you get to the like catching Pokemon thing, which has also been streamlined to a point where it's just making numbers go up. Because you're also just, you're collecting Pokemon. More than ever, you're just collecting Pokemon just to make a number go up. Because like, in the first generation, right, that was like the one time where you were like, if you want the HM for Flash, or you want the experience share, or like the item finder, you need to catch a certain amount of unique Pokemon, right? In this game, well, I mean, catching Pokemon already gives you experience points. So you can, at first, I was kind of like throwing a Pokeball and then seeing, oh, does it get caught? But very quickly, you'll just throw a Pokeball, move on to the next Pokemon. Just throw ball, and a lot of them will just go, like, they'll just be caught. You don't even have to damage them, really. And if you do, you can just get your Gyarados to waterfall through 5 of them, and then just, throw a ball that one, throw a ball that one. There's nothing involved anymore, really. And, like, you're conditioned to do this. Because there's this professor lady, which it's one of those things where it's like, why couldn't it just be Professor Sycamore? I'm not gonna get distracted with this. I told myself I'm gonna make this very short video. But like it's one of those things where it's like this lady, who is she? She doesn't even do anything. It's just like, and she has all these tasks for you, right? And these are like the most like obvious like Skinner box like MMO tasks, like collect 3 wolf pelts, right? Just in general, like even combat itself, because you got like cooldowns on moves now. When you're fighting like a rogue Mega Evolved Pokemon, it's literally like a raid battle. Like you have to dodge like giant icicles that come from the sky, and it's like so if you want a Pokemon MMO, this is it. Here you go. But like in Arceus, I saw Well, what I saw always from that gameplay, whenever I saw gameplay, it was sort of like that one Family Guy joke where like James Woods is like, oh, piece of candy, oh, piece of candy, oh, piece of candy. And that's what it looked like people just walking from one thing to the next, just in like straight lines. Like, oh, look, some Pokemon over there. I'm going to go over there and catch them. Oh, look, berry bush. And that's exactly what happens in ZA. You're just collecting stuff. And it's kind of fun. It's like, it's a game where it's like, I don't really want to get into it, but once I'm into it, I'm like just collecting stuff. It's like that. It's really hard to get into there. But then once you're in there, it's just like, oh, look, I'm getting some dopamine here, right? So like, and in that game, there are all these like Pokedex challenges, like, oh, catch 20 Zubat, defeat like 30 Zubat, watch Zubat use Astonish 5 times. And and I'm like, it's such stupid shit, man. But in this game, it's like, they changed it, so now you just have to catch Pokemon. You also have like stuff like, oh, drink at a cafe, like evolve a Pokemon, catch, fill the Pokedex, okay. But mostly it's just like, catch 5 electric types, catch 10 electric types, catch 15, and it just goes on like that, yeah. So like, literally, you're more than ever, you're just conditioned to catch a bunch of Pokemon, especially the dual types ones, right? Because then you have 2 at the same time, yeah. And then just release them. And like, that's such an odd thing, right? Because like, sure, you catch a lot of Pokemon in other games, but either that's because you want to like do something with breeding, you want to actually like use them in battle. In Pokemon XD, it's like, oh, the Shadow Pokemon, of course you're going to catch all the Shadow Pokemon. Or like, if you're like replaying Pokemon Ruby, I'm not going to catch all the Pokemon. I'm just going to be like, I'm going to catch the 6 or like 7, 8 Pokemon I actually want to use. But in this game, it's just like, you catch all these Pokemon, and you just have boxes full of Pokemon that you kind of want to save, but not really. And then you get like TMs for them, and like, I don't know, like Pokemon learn pretty good moves, like they're useful TMs, But it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm just collecting Pokemon just to make a number go up. I'm not enjoying doing this. It's just because there's nothing even to it. I'm just pressing a button, and a number is going up. So like, it's just terrible. It's just streamlined to the point where what I'm even doing, it may as well just happen automatically. And then you get into the battles, where in the beginning of the game, you go through this tutorial. And it's a really long tutorial. It's just the beginning of the game. I wouldn't even call it a tutorial. I mean, it is, but okay. And like, you kind of like, I want my freedom. That's kind of what you feel. Like, when do I get to explore the world? The city. And so you do like one battle against some chumps. Then they go to the first battle, ZA Royale, right? And it's Battle Royale, like, again, I shouldn't go into this, but it's so funny where it's like, they really try to get like gym leaders into this, right? So it's like, okay, you got this tournament and you go from Z to A, but then they just skip a whole bunch of the letters and they go like, okay, now you're just battling gym leaders. They're all the gym leaders, but there's no gyms, and sometimes you just fight one after another. Oh, here's the ground type gym leader, and then immediately this electric type gym leader. Okay. Like, am I supposed to learn? Are new players supposed to learn type effectiveness from this? Because, like, honestly, that doesn't even really matter. The game just tells you to you anyway. Like, okay, but whatever. So they're teaching me how to do this CA Royale thing, right? So you defeat like 2 trainers, and then they tell you that sometimes there's a trainer who's like a higher rank and they're really powerful, and you should probably like sneak or something, right? So I'm like, okay, certainly that's gonna happen, but not now. So I see a lady, and I'm like, it's not a battle, because I want to do more battles, because I'm eager for battles. So I kind of run at her, not that I would have been able to sneak past her anyway, because like this whole sneaking mechanic, it's like, I didn't know how it worked, really. But yeah, she has like this pitch shit, and it's like level 25, and my Pokemon just like, they can't handle that, so I just run away. And like, then you lose a bunch of like coins and whatever, and tickets, and I actually got really frustrated at that point. Because I want to battle. I want to battle a lady, but then the game's like, oh no, this is our tutorial to show that sometimes trainers are strong. And like, that never really happens the rest of the game. Like, there are people who are like a higher rank, but like, they're really rare. Right? And like, really being over leveled is super easy in this game. Like, it's even hard to figure out what the appropriate level is. Right? And like, because like, battles are so infrequent, I don't know what the average amount of level is I should be at. It's really only like the plot battles. Because there's no trainer battles really. Like, there's the CA Royale stuff. But then there's all these different levels of them then. So like, and really then you get these cards, right? Where it's like, oh, defeat 3 trainers who are higher ranked than you. Where are they? I don't see them. I wish there were more of them. But now they're not there. Okay, and like sneaking past those people. No, you may as well just run away. It's not like they're going to be in a hallway. So it's like, I was really frustrated in the tutorial. And then, then you're wondering, how do I get into a battle? Which really, I was really confused by it. Because, okay, let's talk a bit about the open world, right? So the whole idea of the open world, in a Pokemon game, you think like, okay, I can go anywhere I want, and then just catch whatever Pokemon I want. No. Instead, like, new wild areas unlock as the story progresses. Completely defeats the purpose, right? What's the point of the city? It's not really an open world city. It's just a big city. That's it, right? Because there's not even really areas in there. It's not like some areas like blocked off where it's like, oh, this is where really strong trainers are, or really strong Pokemon, right? No, really, it's just a bunch of platforming. That's it. It's platforming city. That's really, and like sometimes in like, just in general, like you're not allowed to go up certain Hall of Fames until a side quest allows you to like unlock it, right? And sometimes you may find like a Pokemon, like I saw an Eevee at one point, but I didn't know how to get rid of those vines yet, because you really just need a cutting move, And so I didn't, but then later I forgot where that was, right? Because like you can put a point on the map, but that it sucks, because you can't zoom in far enough. You don't know what building it is. And like it's really easy for them to be removed, right? Because you press the wrong button, oh, it's gone. You may find the Larvitar. I found the Dene, and I was like, I'd like one with a better nature, right? But then, if you catch them, then you have to like wait for them to respawn. And there's other places where they are, but it's really hard to remember where those are. So really, the whole like open world thing just completely defeat the purpose. I was like, this is like, because in the beginning I'm like, I want a Scyther, But then by the time you get them, those Scythers are like level 40. Like, I'm not going to switch up my team now. It's terrible. But also, you wonder, where are all the trainers? Sure, certainly, in a Pokemon city, there should be people eager to battle you just off the cuff. There should be people around being like, hey, you want to battle? And then I'd be like, yes. Doesn't happen. Instead, it's only really side quests. The side quests are also like, again, it's just like MMO stuff. Where it's like, most of them are just battle guy or like collect the thing, right? And they're like, oh, there are cases of the detective agency. They just ruined like the whole detective thing, right? It is like, what the hell did they, again, I'm not going to get into this, but like, I really liked the Emma character from like the post game of X and Y. Now it's like she's wearing these stupid clothes, it's just she's Naruto running away. And it's like, there's nothing to this character anymore, like I don't care about any of this. You can put little pictures on the wall like, oh, it's Luca. I fucking hated Luca. What a dickhole. Taking credit for what I'm doing. And then buying that detective agency. I could have bought that. I had money. Fuck that guy. Fuck that. But yeah, I'm like, how do I do battles? And so it's only the ZA Royale where you can do that. So then you get into the ZA Royale. And the first time I get into this, I'm like, I'm eager for battle. So I just battle. And like, I've defeated like 20 trainers, right? And like, at the end, I'm like, I'm not satisfied, but I'm disillusioned. I'm like, this is not as fun as just doing normal battles. So it's like, I'm eager for more, but not of this. It's kind of like the opposite of playing Pokemon Stadium or Battle Revolution, where then I'm kind of like, oh, I just did 10 battles. Oh, I'm full, man. Oh, please, no more. I'm going to play something else. Here it's like, I can keep playing, but it's not going to be that satisfying. I'm eating chips, like you can just keep going forever, but it's not even like good chips. It's really little lame, tasteless chips. That's what it is. And that's the sad thing, right? Because again, you're actually conditioned to not only defeat as many trainers as possible, but to take as little time as possible and to like even like sneak up on them and just defeat their first Pokemon immediately without even going into a battle at all. Like, why would we want to have like a fair, honest battle? Like, why would you want that? If the Pokemon they had were tough, then it'd be a reason to attack first. Because, like, there's plenty of these kind of games where you can, like, you sneak up on the enemy and get, like, the first hits for free, right? But in those games, you don't instantly kill them from that. When? Like, in Earthbound, you could do that. But they didn't instantly kill him. Like, it's so crazy. But then, Also, you're just collecting a whole bunch of stuff again. Because now there's coins laying around. Now there's these cards. And then the cards literally tell you defeat a trainer by like defeat the Pokemon by just sneaking up on them and then instantly killing it, you know? So now you're running around trying to defeat as many trainers as possible, you know, with like, oh, defeat a Pokemon with a water type attack, you know, stuff like that. So now you're collecting trainers as well. So you're just running around and you're trying to get them to respawn, right? Because like eventually like trainers kind of respawn once you've defeated all of them. So you're just running around in a circle and you're just collecting trainers. And at the end you literally get bonus points for defeating so many trainers. So then it comes to thing like, there's never a moment where you're like, oh, I'm gonna pop into a Sierra Real to do like 3 battles. You're never gonna do that. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it right as night starts, then you're gonna instantly teleport to the place and then defeat as many as possible. That's how you do it. There's no other reason. There's no reason to only defeat 5, because that's even just like a waste of time. So in that itself just makes you over leveled, right? Because, you know, like I want to do a battle, but, you know, I'm kind of over leveled. Now I need to do like story progression, but that's like really lame as well, you know, like it's just I'm just collecting stuff. I'm not actually doing battles. That's what it feels like. I don't feel like I'm doing any tactic stuff. I'm not really making decisions. You know, I'm trying, you know, like I had Pokemon that like new light screen and reflect. And that's what I do. I just light screen reflect. But really you're just gonna like mag evolve your Pokemon and just rampage through them, you know, like, you know, I actually had like anxiety about what Pokemon to put on my team. Because I'm slowly starting to realize, wait a second, they're gonna have all the Mecha Pokemon in this game. So at that point I just saw like, oh, that Pokemon has a Mega Pokemon, Mega Form, that one has a Mega Form. And so then like, well, what kind of team do I want? Because I don't just want a team with all like old Mega Pokemon. So then but I also didn't want to get spoiled on like new Megas, you know, like that was like one of the only joys I had. Although it wasn't really, you know, like, oh, Mega Excadrill, you know, okay. Well, I'm not going to play competitive with these Pokemon anyway, you know, and like, they're not even having abilities here. So it's like, a lot of the point is kind of gone, you know, like, but like, I actually caught like a Weedle, and I actually like to do this, you know, because like, you know, those bugs are actually really good early game. And so I kind of like to catch one of those and then switch off, you know. But I was like, well, I got my Beedrill here, and you know, it had like Toxic Spikes, and I like that move, you know, but it has a Mega. So should I even trade it in? And I actually saw like a Fannybeat early on, and I was like, you know, when I'm replaying Black and White ever, I want to use a Fannybeat, like a Scolipede, right, which is better than Beedrill. But what if it doesn't have a Mega? Maybe Mega Beedrill is better than Scolipede, but maybe Scolipede has a Mega. So I was like, I was like conflicted, and then it turns out, yeah, Scolipede does have a Mega. So then I kind of went back and was like, okay, I'm gonna get Scolipede, and I'm gonna kind of like slowly train it up a bit, you know, kind of have that, you know, experience of like, oh, it's leveling up, evolving, you know. But that was one of those frustrating things, you know, like it's like, you know, we're just. I was actually looking at like some trainer would have a Pangoro next to them, and I'm like, is there a Mega Pangoro? Maybe, maybe not. You know, I have a Vanillux on my team. I like Vanillux. Does it have a Mega? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. You know, and like you don't want to have like 6 Megas on your team, right? So I was like, you know, I actually got like a Gyarados, and I was like, wait a second, this has a Mega. Do I want this on my team? And I ultimately I did. You know, I want some old Megas on my team. You know, so I had a Garchomp and I had a Gyarados. You know, I also had the Dedenne, and that was like, it's probably not gonna have a Mega. You know, and that's fine. You know, like it's a cool Pokemon. You know, so it's stuff like that, right? But even then, like, you know, it's actually tough because like, again, because they're all sharing experience points, I don't even get to spend that much time with all of them. You know, like there's really not a lot of times where my Meganium, because I'm a Meganium shooter, man. Like Reflect and Light Screen, super good. Like Pokemon Colosseum, you know, just double battles, just set up a Reflect Light Screen, you know. But like, there's not that many moments for me to even like send out my Meganium, because like, well, for one, like I kind of had like Pokemon that weak the grass. I kind of had that covered, you know. That was whatever, you know. But like, it was just tough to even like find a team, an enemy that kind of like stall strategies even worked on, like, you know, because all those rogue Mecha Pokemon, they don't get poisoned or anything like that. You know, it was kind of annoying, really. Like, I wasn't really doing battles, right? All of that was kind of like streamlined out. I'm just pressing buttons, you know, and you get the whole cooldown thing where it's like, oh, I'm gonna use like maybe you're fighting a Skarmory and like, oh, but then you use Thunderbolt, and then it like takes over half of its health, and then you're like, okay, well, I can use Nuzzle, which will deal like a slight amount of damage and paralyze it. I can use Dazzling Gleam, but really, like, even if you use both of those moves, by the time even that wouldn't take him out, and by that time, like, Thunderbolt would be off cooldown again. So you just use Thunderbolt again, right? So it's just a lot of it's just kind of frustrating. And then also, if you don't press buttons fast enough, you lose a lot of advantage, right? And I didn't even really know how a lot of the mechanics worked, because like, how does sleep work in this game? I don't know. How does confusion work? Like, at first I was like, oh, my Pokemon's confused, I better switch it out. I kind of stopped doing that, you know? I was using a Haunter like at one point, and I was like, oh, Confuse Ray. But I'm like, why am I even doing this? Is this doing anything? I don't know. And I can't read the loading screen tips, because the Switch 2 loads it too quickly. It loads too quickly. Yeah, that's the whole, like, the reason I even got this game, actually, was because, like, I was gonna get Switch 2, but then, like, you know, might as well get a game with it, because, like, that's cheaper, right? Because they're all, like, ripping us off and all that. So I'm like, you know, this was kind of the only bundle they had. So, you know, let's check in on the game design here. And, like, yeah, you know, this is, you know, but it's like that. You know, there's no strategy. I don't even really need to learn the game. And sure, like, I know a lot already, so I kind of have like an advantage there. But I really don't think like learning how the game works is that like even important, because there's nothing to prepare for. And I guess, you know, that's like another thing is like that there's not even even the focus on Pokemon. That's another thing, right? Because like I did kind of like how your Dedenne would like kind of run after you, you know? It's fun to have your Gyarados like flying next to you. That's fun, you know? I do kind of, you know, it leans very much on it being Pokemon, because, you know, all those other games, those Pokemon likes, you know, like they don't have this, the designs aren't as good. It leans very much on it being fun that you have a Pokemon next to you, right? But even then, the focus is not on your Pokemon, it's on your trainer, because the camera is constantly pointing at your trainer. You have all these, like, customization options. You know, all the fucking Pokemon trainers are constantly like with their little quirky personalities. Like, oh, this guy makes curry in the form of like the Prism Tower and little croissants. Oh boy, so, like, get out of here. Put more focus on the Pokemon. You know, like your Pokemon are using moves, but that's not even like really that important anymore. And that's the thing about like Pokemon Stadium and like XD and like Battle Evolution. All the focus is on the Pokemon. So like, you know, like, when a Pokemon uses a move, the camera goes right on there, they have this fun animation, it's all the focus is on them. And such a thing, that's one of those things that I don't like about Pokemon now, is the focusing so much on, like, making, like, the trainers, like, all these, like likable, you know, like, well, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like they all have to be, like, cute or something, right? You know, they all people need to be able to make fan art of them. It's like that, you know, but, like, that's what the Pokemon are for, right? What we're kind of seeing is this loss of push and pull. In game design, it's called, like, push and pull, you know, kind of risk reward. Where sometimes it's important for games to be kind of, to show, like, have some resistance in them, right? For things to not be as fun, as that way that makes the fun parts of the game more fun, right? Because in old Pokemon, you would have like caves. Oh man. And caves were not that fun. Like, they were annoying, right? Because there'd be Zubats that confuse you, there'd be Geodudes that would just like, you know, if you have like an electric type to take care of the Zubats, a Geodude would come out, you know. Like, you have a grass type for the Geodude, but then there's Zubats. You know, and that's kind of like trying to teach you, like, type effectiveness, you know? But a cave, or even like a gym leader, was something you had to prepare for. It's one of those things where the player has to kind of stop and be like, okay, let's think about this. I've got this problem, and that's what it's problem solution, right? You've got this problem, and like, you can't just brute force your way through. You have to actually kind of think about it. And that's really important, because it activates the player's brain. The problem with kind of like Skinner boxes is that players are constantly pressing buttons, they're playing animations, numbers are going up. So yeah, the problem with Skinner boxes is that it kind of makes your brain go dim a bit, it makes you go on autopilot. A game is really great when you have to kind of like think about something, because then those moments are also more memorable. Because then when you get through the cave, you're like, oh wow, I'm through. Finally, breath of fresh air. Now I'm in this new town. I've got these gyms. I've got new Pokemon. And that's really when that's the push and pull. It's supposed to be kind of annoying because then like there's a reason for there to be preparation. Because otherwise, what are you even preparing for? Because in ZA, I'm collecting all this stuff for what reason? Like honestly, like they may as well just shove a Pokemon Center up your ass. Why don't your Pokemon just get healed automatically? Because like you're collecting all these healing items, you got so much money. The game is like, if you need money, just go to the ZA Royale like 3 nights in a row, right? You got plenty of money. So it's like, and you can like press a button to auto heal your Pokemon. I don't know what healing items they're using. Maybe they're like, oh, this Pokemon lost 70 HP, Hyper Potion. Okay, why not just a Super Potion and a regular potion? Isn't that the same thing? Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know what healing items they're using, but it's kind of like, may as well, because what else are you going to do with all these items? What am I preparing for here? Like competitive against other players? I don't really feel like doing that. Also, you need like, either be like in person or you need like on Switch Online for that, so like screw that, right? Yeah, the gym leaders too, like if you're like in a town and you're like, oh, there's an electric type gym. I need a ground type. That's something you can prepare for. In this game, I never really need to prepare, really. Like, I'm pretty sure like I defeated the electric type gym leader with like my Mega Gyarados. Or something, right? Why not? Like it's a strong Pokemon. It can take a hit. Whatever. So like, what's there's nothing to look forward to even. And there's also nothing to look up to. Like, look against. And this is kind of like, this is like the thing with streamlining, where you streamline away the game, really. Because it's kind of like in Kingdom Hearts, where the first Kingdom Hearts was kind of like, it was very methodical, very slow paced, the combat. But there was also all this exploration you could do. And platforming. Lots of it. Levels were kind of confusing a bit. Like in Agrabah, you had this whole like vertical level. Where you had to like go through doors and everything. And then you got to the Cave of Wonders. It was kind of confusing, right? With all those like waterways especially. Hollow Bastion. Confusing location, kind of. Atlantica. Like Halloween Town. These were kind of confusing locations. But that was kind of the point. Because then you couldn't just beat those games, that game at least, by just pressing forward and spamming attack. At some point, if you just go, oh, a door, I'm going to go through that, you would be walking in circles. You have to kind of stop and go, all right, what am I doing? Where am I? Try to focus and figure out what my next logical step is. That's kind of what you had to do. And that's why the large body enemy was such a good enemy, right? Because like, if you spam attack, you just bounce against the stomach, You have to use magic or like hit him in the back, You have to kind of dodge, But then in Kingdom Hearts 2, there's just invisible walls everywhere. Like, oh, don't go there. Just follow the hallway. That's it. You just follow the hallway, open some treasure chest, then there's a cutscene, there's the save point, more treasure chest, and you just, combat was more fluid, or whatever, fluid. But it was less tactical, and there's just more animations, You press triangle, and an animation plays. And then in Kingdom Hearts 3, you're just battling, and then like, oh, press this button to have a giant Ferris wheel appear or whatever, like a giant attraction, and just wipe everything out. Okay, can I have some level design? Can I have some, large bodies, you can just hit them in the stomach. You can just do that. So more and more, those games just became more Skinner boxes, where it's just like, oh, press buttons and hold forward. That's it. And that's what Legend CA is. Just hold forward and press buttons. Because you're over-leveled, it's really easy to get over-leveled. If you're under-leveled, it's like, well, can you use strategy to defeat these trains? Not really. Just get over-leveled. Just hold forward, collect stuff, do those stupid side quests, Just use, if you're under-leveled, just use experience candies, And that's it. It's this weird thing where, like, dungeons is something that you really don't see in these games anymore, Where like, yeah, like Pokemon, there's dungeons, Like this Final Fantasy, there's dungeons. Those things don't really exist anymore in these kind of games. Like, in ZA, there was like this part where you go into the sewers, and I was like, wow, some sort of dungeon. And it's really short, and it's like nothing to it. It's not difficult at all, right? But it felt like adventurous, right? Because it's like, oh, you can just go to a Pokemon Center now. You have to, like, if you want to do that, you have to get all the way out of the cave, So this would be a good moment that if this was difficult, for me to use some of those potions. Because otherwise, why not just heal me in between fights, right? What's the point of potions if the Pokemon Center is right there? So you don't have to go to the Pokemon Center that you can just teleport to? It's really odd, right? Why not just, in Pokemon XD again, you'd have something about Mount Battle, where indeed you could just get healed in between battles. You go walk a few steps and do a battle, And that was better because at least the battles were fun, right? And that's the thing, right? If you want to streamline it like that. Where you just go, you don't have to do the healing up stuff, right? And then just do more battles. Because like, what was I going to say? I had this idea, is what if there was a setting in a Pokemon game where anytime you did a trainer battle, or anytime you did the gym battle, you just instantly, all Pokemon were set to the same level. Because so like if you're fighting Brock, like kind of the nearest level to what your Pokemon is, like level 10. All your Pokemon set to level 10, Brock's Pokemon set to level 10, and that's streamlined. Because then if you have a Pokemon that's too strong, it'll be sent back, and it'll be more equal. It'll be more challenging, more skillful. You need to be more tactical. And if you have a Pokemon that's weaker, like, oh, I'm fighting Lieutenant Surge, I need a ground type, I'm going to catch a Diglett, but I don't want to like grind to get it up to a level where I can use it or something, right? Well, then its level will just get increased. That's streamlining. That's a way of streamlining the game experience, where you don't have to grind all the time. How about putting a feature like that? But no, instead it's just like, people hate turn-based, so we're going to get rid of combat. People don't like thinking, they just like pressing buttons and then watching animations, and numbers go up. And that's what CA is. That's the direction it's going, and people want even the main series to be like that. And I haven't played Scarlet and Violet or like Sword and Shield, but if that's what people want, then really, why should I get back in? If that's what, if they're just being, if that was like their plan, let's browbeat Game Freak into making it real time already. But I don't think that's even the plan. No, instead they have this idea in their mind, I think, that like the only reason that the original Pokemon games were turn-based is because of the like limitations of like the Game Boy or something, and they've just been stuck in their ways. Pokemon needs to evolve, and like evolution can mean multiple things. What you're saying, you just think the game style is bad. That's not evolution. Like turn-based is not the pre-evolution to the evolved real time. Especially when there are tons of real-time games that are way better than this, or even will be. Because like, it really just spits in the face of real-time games, real-time combat games that have way more depth. Like, Batman Arkham games are really difficult, They really have a lot of depth to the combat. This game doesn't. Like you're just pressing buttons most of the time, Like, yeah, you can beat a Batman game by just pressing triangle and just like countering everything, but that's not even really effective a lot of the time, But like, that's one of those games where like being better at the game actually makes it more fun. And here it doesn't, And it's such a weird thing, because like every series seems to go through this like change of just making it more of a skin in the box. It really proves that my theory of the enemy skin in the box is just completely correct, right? Because you got Pokemon starts out as this like, like tactical turn-based game, and just more and more becomes like a skin in the box where you just watch cutscenes. People want like voice acting in the cutscenes, and like, okay, but like, does that make the game better? Really, no. And then Kingdom Hearts, it just becomes more of a skin in a box where you just press buttons and pull it forward. And even Final Fantasy started out as very close to Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like old Dungeons and Dragons games had these dungeons that were like fucking insane, like huge, difficult, went way too deep. Like if you played Wizardry or something. Like the whole game is just giant dungeon, right? And that's like way too much, that's way too monotone. But like, even those smaller dungeons like in the first Final Fantasy, first like few, right, up to like 7, right, were pretty tough, and you really had to like have a lot of items. You need to have the best equipment. You need to have a good plan, and a lot of those games were pretty unfair. But at least there was like a challenge, that was the point of the game, the combat. You had to prepare for these things, and that's just completely gone. Like, I mean, even like Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy like 12, 13, those were like MMOs as well. Like those also had like MMO roles, like MMO style combat. It all just comes back to being a giant like MMO skin in a box. That's all it really comes down to ultimately, right? Like that's what they all just turn into, and it's one of those revealing things, right? Where people like talk about like, oh yeah, the game series needs to evolve. Like Pokemon's archaic. It's but really, like we want to be real time because that's better, because it's more fun. But really, they just want to press more buttons, and that's such a like, and you're allowed to have a game like that. But like, let's not pretend that this is like some kind of like you're so smart, like you're better than like all these other people, like that people who like turn based, because like you're just telling on yourself, really, right? And the sad thing is, right, is there is a Pokemon game that is like real time and it's like way better. The Pokepark games. Like I actually played like Pokepark 2 a while back. I played Pokepark all the way back when it came out, and these games have real time combat. You actually do battles, right? Like a lot of them, right? And they're kind of most of them are easy. You have to chase Pokemon around, but like the focus is on the Pokemon, like it's not like, oh, there's all these trainers like hawking all the attention. No, it's like, oh, you like Pokemon? Here they are. They all say their names. There's voice acting technically, if you want to call it. But like in the first Pokepark, right, the final battle against Mew was actually kind of tough. Like Mew transforms into like 3 Pokemon and you have to beat them all in a row. And like this Tyranitar form of Mew would like shoot like sludge bombs or whatever. You had to like jump over them, like you actually were playing an action game, right? Like a real-time action game. And like there was a progression system. Like you could increase by spending berries. You could increase your HP, your attack, like your Thunderbolt attack, your dash attack. But there was like a ceiling to that. So you couldn't just grind and get over that. You had to actually have skill to beat that final boss. And Pokepark 2 is kind of the same thing, like there were some tough battles in that. So why not just play that? And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that's a spin-off, but we want to be, the main series needs to be real time. And it's like, why? And like, maybe if Pokepark had been more popular, maybe there would have been more of them. I don't know. Maybe you should have played that, I mean, I like those games, like I don't need there to be more. But it's one of those things where, you think back and you wonder, maybe it would have been better if Pokemon had not been as popular, If all these people are going to play Pokemon and not like turn-based, then why are they playing it, It's one of those things where like, popularity is like both a blessing and a curse, because as the series goes on, it'll become more harmonious. What do you call it? Like it'll try to appeal to everyone and then ends up appealing to nobody. Where I guess like when it started, people had this idea like one day it'll be exactly what I think it will be one day. Like they have this idea, it will grow to be this, And then as the series goes on, they become disillusioned by that. Because, oh no, the reason that it's like this is not because like of limitations, it's because that's actually what the creators wanted to be like. And then like, I don't know, people either like fall out, they like drop out and like go, okay, whatever. Or they, I don't know, try to browbeat it into becoming that thing they want to be. And that's kind of the fight you get between, that's when people start, like fans start to fight each other, because they all like it for different reasons. And so that's really the end result, right? That's, guess my final message here is like, there is no way, if you improve all those other things about Legends ZA, like what people are complaining about, like there's so much more, to it, right? All those sanded down like characters who have no personality, there's no bad guys or anything. It's like, even if you do all that, the game's still like, the base game is like, you're not going to be improving this, because I can see where this is going, I can see what that's just trying to be like an MMO, like it's designed like World of Warcraft a lot, and I see that happening, and I'm like, yeah, this is not happening, like you can like those kind of games, But I know I just want people to be more honest about that, you know. So we can have better communication. You know, at least do that. At least communicate better. But yeah, you know, I guess I just like Pokemon Pokepark better, you know. You know, it's about they streamlined away the core mechanic of the game. You know, they're just You know, it's optimized. If you like Skinner boxes, if you just like making numbers go up, then you know these are the games. Well, if they also have better like graphics, I guess. You know, if you also want that, you know, I guess these aren't the games yet. But I don't know, like it's at its core, that's just what it's becoming. And if you like that, you know, I can't say I agree. That's my point. That's my conclusion. Goodbye.